Hey guys, what's up? It's Jimmy, and I realized I haven't done a video talking exactly like what my current opinions on Pokemon X and Y are, and I figured since we're pretty much halfway towards the release at this point, and I figured it would be pretty neat to talk about what I think of the games now, and then in a few months when I review the games as a whole, I could compare and contrast, I guess, what I thought and stuff like that. I know I already did a hopes video, but I didn't exactly talk about what I thought about X and Y. So I guess I'll go over everything that was announced up until this point, or at least try to, and then talk about things that I want to talk about involving them. So let's begin. Got my paper here with all my notes so I don't forget anything. So the game is set in the region known as Kalos, which we recently learned the proper pronunciation for. Now the Kalos region is blatantly based off France. I mean, in the very first trailer, you see a giant white Eiffel Tower. So I'm almost positive we all knew it was going to be based off of France. Now, so far, we've really only seen gameplay in the main city area, and so far, it looks huge. Like, bigger than Castelia City. And that was a huge city. Now, of course, the games are going to be in full 3D. There's going to be models and everything. And now, since we're in a 3D space, we can walk in multiple directions. We're not based on grid movements, so we'll take full advantage of the circle pad. Cars! I think this will make the games a lot more immersive, and plus, with the 3D visuals and the boost in the graphics power being on the 3DS, we'll be able to see a lot more life, I guess, in the worlds. And I think the environments are going to feel richer now because of all these things. I mean, you look at the trailer and you see a forest area, and you see the light shining through the trees, and I think we saw that in Eternal Forest, but that's, you know what I mean. It looks pretty freaking good. Also, you can sit on benches now. Also, like I predicted in my X and Y hopes video, not gonna gloat or anything, but we are able to customize our characters now. And recently, Game Freak has confirmed that you can also buy new clothing and buy new hairstyles, I think, for your characters, so you can make your player characters look really unique and fit your liking. So that's really freaking cool. Now, some features that were recently announced this week at E3 are this new feature called Horde Battles, which I'm not sure if it's always 5 or up to 5 different Pokemon can appear at a time. They're wild Pokemon. And say in the trailer they showed up to 5 Houndours appearing at once. So you want to use moves that hit multiple opponents at once to, you know, knock them all out at once. Also, we learned about a new Pokemon mini-game or something. I'm not exactly sure if it's a standalone title. It looks like it's going to be included in Pokemon X and Y. It's called Pokemon Ami, and it's basically Nintendogs and Pokemon, which is something I actually literally just a few days ago was sitting in my chair, like I am now, and just saying, I wonder what it would be like if Pokemon and Nintendogs did a thing. Like, you could raise your Pokemon like a pet. And look what we have now. I thought that would be boring. Now we also have a new feature called the PSS, which is basically the C-Gear, but useful, I guess. They're going to be basically letting you be online at all times, and you can search for people nearby that actually have the game. You can search for your friends. People can join in, from what I understand. And you can add people to a closer friends list, similar to actually in the new Animal Crossing game, which is sort of like the communities thing I talked about in Mario Kart 7 in my hopes video. So it's really great to see them stepping up the online aspects of the game. So basically, like I said, it's C-Gear, but functional and useful because it's on a 3DS, so that should be pretty fun to use as well. And from what we could tell in the screenshots that they posted on the official website, there is going to be a lot of options for customization. Like originally they just showed a few haircuts and skin tones, but it looks like you can redesign the entire outfit of your player character, because this one guy has purple hair. So I don't know what that means, but it looks pretty freaking sweet. And now we have a whole bunch of new Pokemon to talk about. So first, let's begin with the starter Pokemon, as I'm sure everyone is going to be wanting to know what they're going to be like. So first we have Chespin, which is a grass type, and I like him the most out of these three. I think I'm going to be using him in my playthrough. I really like Chespin. And then we also have Fennekin and Froakie, which are also starter Pokemon, as I said. Fennekin is a fire type, and Froakie is a water type. And so far we don't know any of their evolutions, but judging by some of the moves they've gotten early on, it looks like Chespin, I think, gets Dig I want to say Dig, but he gets Dig at a pretty early level, so I'm assuming his final evolution is going to be like Grass Ground, because he looks somewhat like a chipmunk or a mole or something that would do a lot of digging and stuff. And then Fennekin, I'm hoping, because it's a fox, I'm hoping they'll incorporate that into its type. I'm thinking maybe it could be Fire Dark because it's a sly Pokemon like a fox normally is, or maybe Fire Psychic. That'd be pretty neat too. I just really hope it's not another fire fighting type. I mean, Blaziken was cool, Infernape was pretty cool, Emboar was cool, but I don't want more. I want something new. So hopefully they give us a new type combination for Fennekin's final form, because if it's firefighting again, I may have to weep internally forever. And then we have Froakie, which I really want to be a water fighting type because, come on, Poliwrath needs a sparring partner. Next we have Xerneas and Yveltal, which have some of the strangest names, and I think this is the first time the Pokemon company has actually recognized this and it's like, alright guys, we know these are pretty insane names, here's a pronunciation key. So they gave us that. I want to do a video talking about the mythology surrounding their origins and the basis for their design sooner or later. So I'm going to save information on them for that. But they're pretty neat. I like their designs. I really want Yveltal, but because Pokemon X is the easier one to say, really, it rolls off the tongue better for me personally. I'm going to be getting Pokemon X as my main version, so I'll be stuck with Xerneas. But I'm assuming I can get a hold of an Yveltal sooner or later, and I'll just forget I own a Xerneas and just battle with my Yveltal, because that'll be amazing. We're also getting a brand new form of the Psychic Demon Cat that we all know and love, Mewtwo. And it looks pretty neat. It looks like he has eggplants for toes, and it looks like he's taken some notes in fashion sense from Jesse because he decided to take his tail and stick it on the back of his head. And it also looks like the GameCube is back in style because he has a nice little convenient carrying handle in the middle of his forehead. But all jokes aside, I do think he looks pretty neat. I'm excited to see what other abilities he has, whether his stats change from the normal Mewtwo form. I think it'll be pretty interesting to see how they work with a new form of what seems to be, for the longest time, the ultimate Pokemon. Now we have a new evolution for the Pokemon Eevee. It's called Sylveon. It's the 8th evolution, and it's actually a brand new type of Pokemon. Now this has been speculated for a very long time, almost months now, and it's finally confirmed to be the Fairy type, which I think is a very strange name, but I guess it's fitting towards Sylveon. And just like in Generation 2, older Pokemon are going to be rebranded as the Fairy type. So the Pokemon Gardevoir is now Psychic Fairy, and the Pokemon Marill and Jigglypuff are now Water Fairy and Normal Fairy. So I'm assuming their evolutions will also gain the Fairy type, maybe their pre-evolutions as well, but right now those are the only 4 that we know are definitely part of the Fairy type. They are super effective against Dragon, so that'll help balance the gameplay a little bit more, because originally only Ice and Dragon moves were super effective against Dragon type Pokemon, so that's pretty cool. So not only do we have the new starter Pokemon, the new legendaries, Sylveon, and all that stuff, we also have a bunch of new information on some of the other Pokemon that you can use on your team in the game, such as the really awesome fighting type panda, Pancham. He's Kung Fu Panda, literally. And we also have Gogoat, which is, I'm going to talk about that in a minute because there's some pretty cool stuff about Gogoat. He's a grass type Pokemon. And then we also have Helioptile. It's a thing, it's a lizard, and it's electric and normal type, and it looks pretty cool. Then finally we have the normal flying type Pokemon that every generation starts you out with, Fletchling. And then Fletchling's final form is called Talonflame, which is a really cool fire-flying bird Pokemon, which I'm really excited to raise. And then also recently we were just introduced to Noivern, which is a dragon flying type, I believe, and he looks like a bat and a gargoyle, which I think is, you know, what they were going for with that one. Then we also have Vivillon, which is apparently the new bug flying type Pokemon. We also have 2 new water type Pokemon called Clauncher and Skrelp. Skrelp is actually also part poison, and he looks like a seahorse, and Clauncher is a blue crab, or lobster. He's something. He lives in the bottom of the ocean, under the sea. There we go. Disney reference. Good job, Jimmy. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope it was pretty interesting to hear my thoughts on everything about Pokemon X and Y that has been introduced to us up until this point. So yes, thank you for watching. I have a bunch of cool videos in the works, and I hope you all stay tuned for those, and guess I'll be seeing you guys next time.